Nine
It's
inches.
no, no. It's actually about a ska record that I wanted to get, but uh, if they, it looks like they only came out with it in Britain, and I don't want to spend $30 having it shipped to America. So if well, no, I could have it sent to my cousins, I guess, and then she could ship it on. Because you know how sometimes when you buy things on eBay, it says, like for ship it to Britain, it's this amount. Ship it to the rest of the world, it's like $4,500. Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to get this Amy Winehouse ska collection. But anyway,
Okay, well that's certainly a unique sound to look for.
no,
Hi guys.
apparently it's really good.
Welcome back.
Hi guys. Sorry, I was outside.
You just missed mom and dad fighting. That's it.
Okay. I don't know why mine won't load up a picture or something. When I go to the login screen, it automatically logs me out of the show. So I'll just have to leave it as a dull default background image.
It suits you.
Oh yeah, no.
Boom.
Well, no. How did your trip go? How did your holiday go?
Oh,
More to the point.
it was wonderful. So I've just got to shut the door or I'll wake everyone up.
Yeah. So, are you still on holiday, or are you back?
Oh,
home?
no, we're back now. We're back from the Isle of Wight, but we had an absolutely splendid time. I should post some
You see
pictures
any
on
eagles?
Facebook. No, sadly not.
How do you miss? It's like a small island and it has the highest density population. How do you not see any eagles?
Yeah, but the Isle of
Well,
Wight is not that small of an island, though. Come on.
Richard, it's obvious because I'm as dense as the population.
Figures.
Which
Or
Oh,
maybe he's not 80 years old and doesn't give a shit about,
it's the largest
birds.
predatory bird in England. It's difficult
Yeah.
to miss.
But if you're not looking up,
I
Yeah.
looked up enough, but I didn't spot any. I did look a couple of times there specifically, but I didn't spot anything other than the usual bloody seagulls, terrorists that they are.
You let me down, man. There's so many seagulls and you didn't see any.
Did you
Well-
get a bag of chips and then you dive bombed you? That's my favorite part.
Well,
I love seagulls so much. They're so fun.
well, all I can say is letting you down, Richard, is just an added bonus.
Oh, you keep saying seagulls like that's a species. What kind of gull?
The type that fly around the beach.
The ones that look like seagulls. That
The ones, as Kevin called, the ones that bloody dive bomb you and steal food out of your hand,
Herring gulls.
often cutting you in the process.
they're very bold, aren't they? They're very, very bold.
Yeah, I've seen them devour entire pizzas. They've pinched a sandwich off of me. They've had my crisps. Yeah.
They learned, be assertive. They've got incredible self-confidence. And we're not the kind of people that are going to tear birds down for having high self-esteem.
No, so a couple of quick details. We had a lovely holiday. We went to a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, who has posted some pictures on Facebook and tagged me in, called Lorraine, someone I've known since university days. And her and all her family were out there. We met all them and her parents. They were very hospitable. We went swimming several times in the sea. Reese, my youngest son, had a great time. Lorraine works at the this safari park, and they had a twilight opening, and we went and we were given free tickets, free pizza. It was really, really good. And Reese fed a tiger with these biggest pair of tweezers I've ever seen in my life. It's these massive, great things that you put the meat through a little hole in the fence, and it was great. It was just a lovely, lovely getaway. Really nice place we were at. It was just a room that you rent in a a little flat that you rent in a big park specifically for that. It was everything about it was great. It was a really great getaway, and summer holidays have still got loads in front of them. I will have to do some work at some point, and we're having the whole front room painted. It's just a really, but it's all got a really chilled atmosphere. There's no stress. It's been absolutely great so far. And I've made a couple of decisions about my career that I definitely want to see my future as being a special needs teacher, and I'm all set to look at what I'm going to do for that. That's I mean, I'll definitely miss my old place, but it's time. I feel it's time to move on, so I'm going to be looking for that. And yeah, it's so I'm actually in a pretty good place right now, to be honest. I'm grateful, very grateful.
Is now? Do you? Now, just as a quick question, is any teacher in Britain automatically qualified to teach special needs children, or do you have to have some sort of
You
special?
don't. No, you don't need to have. You have to have qualified teacher status, which I've got, which every teacher has. So
Right.
any teacher can do it. You've just got to. You undergo more and more training while you're doing it, I'm sure. But to have the prerequisites, you've got to have experience of working with special needs children as a class teacher. You've got to show a real affinity for that, a determination to meet their needs, a sensitivity to specifics. You've got to be able to have. I had to plan a lesson. I did apply for one once, and not long ago, and I came very close. So there's every reason to keep trying. They gave me very positive feedback afterwards. They suggested a couple of little things that were I could have done even better. But it was just one person was better than me on the day. Otherwise, I'd already be doing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks
that's
guys.
good.
Happy days.
That's a good idea.
Looking up, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
I remember one time in Germany, I went to this place where you stuck your meat through a fence.
Wow.
Wow.
It's a glory hole. Whatever. Come on. You were thinking it, Nikki. You were thinking it. I knew you were. All right.
Good.
You done lowering the tone, Kevin.
I look at it from the
It's
standpoint
his job.
that's it. I really do. I mean,
If it's not him, it's me. It'll be one of us.
it's secretly Nikki and I. That's our whole thing. We look at it from this standpoint that if you two were on the show together, just you and Tom Richard, that it would be so highbrow that because you'd be talking about birds and
It'd be basically Frasier. That's where we'd be at.
Basically.
That'd be the level of humour. And yes, we would discuss such intellectual pursuits as bird watching.
I think there'd still be a sort of level of power and abuse firmly going in one direction, much like Blackadder and Baldric, or I can imagine.
Yeah.
I don't see you as Baldric, Tom. I see you as Lord Percy.
Lord Percy? Oh, blimey. Guys, I mean, seriously?
I love that. Oh, blimey.
Not Darling? Captain Darling?
No, Lord Percy.
But it's basically the same. I don't know. Now, that's a good question. Why did they change the character's name?
For the Darling joke. I watched a documentary on it. Plus, he didn't want to be typecast. That's the reason he's not in Blackadder 3, was he didn't want to be typecast as Lord Percy. So he only come back for the 4th season because they agreed to change his name.
Oh, that makes sense.
But
because, he was Percy in seasons 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And then him not wanting to be. Yeah, that actually makes perfect sense. I mean,
does
they're
it,
all
though?
absolutely. Well, no, the first season isn't great, but the others are timeless.
I don't know how they got a 2nd season. I really don't.
No, but they did, and they got lucky they did. They got the formula just right in the 2nd season, and 3rd and 4th were great. And they knew when to stop. They didn't,
Well, they didn't because they made back and forth.
Well, yes, but that was a 1-hour special, not which was anything but its namesake, sadly. And yeah, but my friend of mine called Matthew, who I teach with, for his birthday just very recently, just within the last couple of weeks, one of the things I bought him was the best DVD edition of Blackadder that Amazon had with, you know, the most interviews, special features, extras, etc.
Oh yeah, I've got that. That's
Yeah,
great.
well, it is great. It's great. It's great stuff. I mean, you know, if you don't like Blackadder, then there's not a lot of hope for you
Then fuck you,
finding
basically.
something that'll make you laugh. Do you know it, Nikki?
Very little. I've watched a few episodes and that's it.
Well, what you mean? They weren't good enough to compel you to want to watch them all. What's
Yeah, but
wrong with you?
they were from the first
I
season.
have, yeah, it was the first season, and also I have such bad like show ADHD. Unless it's a documentary with like 8 episodes, I might, like I watched like 2 seasons of Breaking Bad and I haven't finished it. I've watched several seasons of uh what is that? Sons of Anarchy, and I haven't finished. I'm really bad about that.
I read something lately that said that they're going to take Breaking Bad off the online platform. So if you don't watch it now, you might not ever be able to watch
Oh,
it.
yeah, it's, I'm sure that there are ways to watch it.
Well, I mean, there always is anymore, right? I mean, there's
Right.
Yeah, I've got it on DVD, so
yeah.
don't trust digital mediums. For that reason, they could be gone tomorrow. So
Yeah.
But actually,
and no one uses torrents anymore.
yeah, well, they're mostly illegal. It's very illegal. That's why.
Yeah, that's why.
And they come down on
Don't
that.
do it. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Seriously, we don't endorse that at all.
Mm-mm.
Well, it's kind of like whenever LimeWire was out, and then everybody was getting busted for downloading a Metallica song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't mind ripping off musicians. Most of them are paid far too much for what they produce.
Yeah,
I don't know about that. Not in this day.
Not anymore. Yeah, not anymore. No,
Well,
not with Spotify.
Is that not
and-
relative, though? I mean, from that
Absolutely.
standpoint.
Spotify is the worst thing to happen to musicians since.
Well, you also have Pandora. You have Amazon. At least they get music. Like, at least they get some revenue from the streams. But like back in the day, I used to go on a site called Groove Shark, and I would have them. I would just have all of this. I wouldn't pay for a freaking thing, and it was a streaming service,
Yeah.
So
It's
I just
better
had
than
playlists
that, I
on
guess.
playlists. It absolutely, yeah, it's better than it being free. Or like back in the day when I would pay 2 cents for a song on a Russian website instead of $1 a song on, Apple Music or whatever it was, iTunes. That's what it was.
I remember a lot of DJ software back in the day would actually use Groove Shark. So it was like one of those things where you were at a show creating a mix and ripping off people at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where you could be in a situation where you're like that, and then somebody shows up and say, I mean, it actually has happened where people show up and say, where's your, where do you have your licenses to play this music and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
it's that's not a situation you want to be in.
No, I mean, they even cracked down, like, Second Life. They started cracking down on people that had very obviously downloaded music to do their DJing. You have to make sure that if you do have downloaded music, that you have it formatted correctly with the title and the person singing it and all of that stuff, so that they don't think it's a rip.
Right.
So,
Okay,
yeah.
Nikki, I've just spent the last minute logging into, the exchange chain Sex, but it's called Sex, but it's spelled CEX, and it's just a poor pun in my opinion. So I normally call it CX because I refuse to stoop to their guttural level. And why is it then, if you're no good with a whole series, Nikki, did you say to me, "Oh, Supernatural was really, really great. Seasons 1 to 5 were really, really great." That I've got that box set on my wish list.
Well, the rules are different if she can perv over one.
That is okay. That is not true. I will tell you that.
How many seasons of Lucifer have you watched?
All of them.
Guys, just to be clear, sorry to interrupt, but just to be clear, we're talking a 29-disc set you have got me chasing down, Nikki Robinson. So how can you possibly claim that you can't watch an entire season of Blackadder?
I can.
But you can't perv over anybody in Blackadder.
I listen, but I adore Rowan Atkins, and he would be enough to keep me watching it. But
not the
I just
first
found
season.
other stuff that was more interesting because it wasn't
because
that
it
great.
had
I
handsome
did
dudes
try.
in it.
Well, no, because
Trousers,
here's
you're
the thing.
fine.
You
You're
say
fine.
that as if I've watched all of Supernatural, and I haven't. I've gotten to season 7. They're already finished. They're like season 15 and done, and I have not even made it halfway through the series.
It's yeah. Well, I'll let you know if I track that down. I'll let you know how I get on with it. I don't know.
It's a
I
great
have
show.
no idea how long it's going to take me to get through 29 discs, but I'll let you know if I get.
Really
I'll let you know
long
how
time.
I'll let you know how I get going with it.
Nikki just doesn't want to admit that she's got a Brian Blessed fantasy.
Brian, who's what?
Yeah,
I can't imagine anyone does. I can't imagine anyone more repulsive than that man.
I have no idea who that is.
Even the Elephant Man, at least he had a sense of humor. You know, there's nothing redeemable about Brian Blessed at all.
Oh, are you serious? This is an honest statement. This is an honest statement, whether anybody wants to admit it or not. There is nobody who knows more about Bigfoot and Yeti than Brian Blessed. I mean, honestly, nobody who knows.
I just Googled him.
Yeah.
I just want to give him a hug. Like, I don't know who he is, but he has that happy fat Santa look to him.
Just wait until you hear him talk.
I don't want to though.
Exactly.
Is it going to ruin it?
What are some of his biggest roles?
That and
Flash Gordon, probably.
Flash Gordon, yeah.
That's the one I was thinking.
Yeah.
Milkman.
In Flash Gordon, I forget the name of the character he plays.
He's whoever he's the leader of the Hawkman.
You know how long it's been since I've seen Flash Gordon.
You know how long it's been since anybody's seen Flash Gordon.
You know what I watched more than Flash Gordon? Flesh.
Yes,
Gordon.
I know. Flash Gordon. Yes.
Do you remember that, Kevin?
Yes.
Okay. The character was Prince Vultan.
Yeah, but I thought, who was the guy that Timothy Dalton played? He was a prince too, wasn't he?
He was in it. Come on, you bloody bastards! That's what he says in it for sure.
And Max von Sydow was Ming the Merciless.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't actually do the introduction of the show, or did I just completely?
No, I did it. You just weren't paying attention.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, I remember doing it.
Richard's just gaslighting you, Nikki.
Again. Again. That's what you missed while you were changing your name and whatnot. Or no, when you went BRB, it was me arguing with Richard and him just being a dick.
I don't think
you weren't sharing anything. Okay, it's not
but then if you go to private chat, I went ahead and proved it. So
she did share.
I was sharing it. You weren't pressing the button because you're a dick.
Right.
I think that you're wrong, but I respect your right to have an opinion.
Sure.
So
anyway, we've had a nice little chat. Do you want to take us away, Nicole?
No.
Randall
my name is
Perkins.
People are going to be Googling that. Is that really her name? Nicole Randall Perkins.
That is absolutely her name.
If I ever become famous, that's what I'm going to change my name to.
Nicole Randall Perkins.
Nicole Randall Perkins. Perkins. Wow, this is going to be great
Yeah,
because
this
I
is
can't
great. You're going to be
speak,
talking about
and
Jilly Juice with
we're
a
going to talk
microphone
about Jilly Juice
and their perpins.
and their perpins. All right.
Exactly.
So, before we get to Jilly Juice and that whole thing, or how some people affectionately call the community the poop cult, um, we
She
should.
does, that lady.
Yeah, she absolutely does. But I think that haters really started it. I'm just gonna call them haters because they like to. Those cult leaders, they like to talk about their haters. So, this person, her name is Jillian Mai Tai Epperly. I think it's Mai Tai. I think that's how you pronounce it. So she was born in 1972 or 73, and she was adopted before she was 2 and brought over to the United States in 1975. Her dad worked in biotechnology, and she says that this is partially how she recognized that big pharma was working with doctors to get consumers addicted to medication. Um, which, if you think about the time that she grew up, the opiate crisis, like how they
Ugh.
were covering that up with Oxycontin and all that stuff, I mean, it kind of makes sense that she might be exposed to that. So anyway, she ends up going to college, but ultimately she drops out and she sells insurance until she meets her husband and moves to Ohio. So she ends up, while she's married, she has PMDD, which is like PMS on crack. She was missing a lot of work, so she ended up ultimately having a hard time holding down her job. In fact, what she would do is, her husband was a trucker, so she would actually travel cross country with him. And while she did so, she would be listening to like InfoWars and Alex Jones and radio pundits, like the classy informed guys.
Yeah.
So that's who she listened to, and it's really affecting her. And because she's a conspiracy theorist, she just goes, immediately towards that more alternative medication, and she starts Googling stuff. So she's on her crazy bullshit, and she starts playing around with different kinds of kombucha with like kale or other things in there. And in case you don't know what candida is, it's a very naturally occurring yeast. It lives in us. It lives in our gut, our mouths, on our skin, um, in the vagina. It's naturally occurring, and it's pretty harmless unless you have like too much of it.
Mm-hmm.
But the people that believe in the whole woo natural whatever, they honestly believe that candida is bad, and they go like nuts about the stuff to get rid of it. And in fact, they call it a parasite, or a fungus. And Jillian like truly believes the same that most of these people do, and she also believes there's only one way to get rid of candida, right? And that's to just shit your brains out. So she's fully convinced that it's a candida issue that she's having with her PMDD. She's trying all these drinks, and finally, instead of kale or whatever else, she's starting to make her own recipe with cabbage. She's done research. She got her MD from YouTube and Facebook, as a lot of alternative medication experts do. She has no education in science or biology. So she makes up this recipe. It's 2 cups of water, 2 cups of chopped cabbage, and a tablespoon of Himalayan salts, pink Himalayan salt, or sea salts. And all you have to do is you blend it up, put it in a glass jar, cover the jar with a coffee filter, screw on the lid, and let it sit for like 3 days until it ferments. And she's telling people that they need to drink 2 to 16 cups a day. And 16 cups is a gallon. She's telling them that they need to start out with 2 cups per day and just slowly make your way up to a gallon a day at least. Now, like, don't think so that she's deranged. There are awesome reasons why she chose these ingredients. Okay, so cabbage has probiotics, and salt, as she says it, is a positive element. So
True. Roman
yeah,
centurions used to pay their soldiers in salt. Must be
there you
worth
go.
something.
Right. So even on her website to this day, she talks about the positive element of salt. And she truly believes that sugars, legumes, grains, all meat except chicken, and anything processed is going to feed these parasites in your body, candida. Um, so she starts this, Bolshevik in October of 2016. And by January 2017, she's posting demos of her juice on Facebook. And she has a Facebook group. And, people are starting to filter in. And it only takes a few months before she's got thousands of members. And we're talking about a group that had it 1.58 thousand members. And it was paid membership. Like it was $30 a year, like so many dollars a month, whatever. She turns it private. Um she makes her website. And so anyway, she says herself that the private group was more like a laboratory. She'd watch how the protocol affected her followers, and based on their responses, she'd update her ideas. So, like the key aspect of her theory that the fermented cabbage juice expels parasites that live in your gut, it
Mhm.
only came around after she saw people's photos of their bowel movements. So, part of why they called them the poop cult is because these people take pictures of their poop. And I'm not talking about just, oh, here's my shit in the bowl. These people are taking like utensils. God, I hope they're taking utensils and like literally just dissecting their poop and laying it out and taking pictures. So she's, seeing these and she's like, okay, they're parasites that live in your gut. So, like at one point, she told BuzzFeed that she wasn't aware there were parasites in the beginning, but that the group was a research tool and a database to share their beautiful works of art before they flush them down the toilet. So, anyway, so you might want to know like how this got to be so famous, why there's 58,000 people at one point that was following her. And it was because she said that Jilly Juice could cure autism, cancer, HIV, Down syndrome. She said that being gay and transgender are caused by mutations in your reproductive system.
Oh.
And she also claimed that you could regrow lost limbs and organs and live to be over 400 years old.
She
So
actually said all of this.
she says all of this. Like you can watch, we're not going to post it because Dr. Richard and I were talking. Dr. Phil is a little bit questionable. He likes to flag videos with his stuff, so we're not going to watch it. But if you go watch it, she flat out claims that this is true. Like just comes out and says it. So critics and most doctors are going to tell you that taking a gallon a day is super dangerous. Like the sodium content itself is dangerously high and has been known to cause stroke. But there are like
Yeah.
less scary side effects like nausea, headaches, dizziness, fever, and explosive diarrhea. Which,
Waterfalls.
by the way, the poop cult calls waterfalls because Jillian refuses to say that it's diarrhea. It's not diarrhea. It's part of the healing process.
Oh.
Like your fever and diarrhea means that it's working. You're feeling the healing. Honestly, it's just sodium poisoning.
Oh.
So these people aren't just consuming up to a gallon a day. Some of them are giving themselves enemas with it, which is bad enough, and is probably why she thought there were quote unquote parasites. Because if you're giving, I've seen a lot of people that do coffee enemas and stuff like that talk about these parasites that they're relieving, but they're not. Really, what it is just stomach lining tissue
Oh.
because it's eaten away at the stomach lining. I can only assume that if you're boofing that much sodium and fermented cabbage, you're probably screwing up your guts in some way. Um, so not only are they doing it to themselves, they're forcing it on the elderly, and there are even videos of people giving it to their toddlers.
Oh
Like
no.
she honestly believes and advocates for the fact that drinking the juice is really good for infants along with breast milk. She said that a baby could and I quote, a baby could potentially live on this along with coconut oil and be fine. So that's
Potentially.
just
That's how she gets
potentially.
out of any legal
Yeah,
responsibility.
right,
Just
potentially. And
because she
that's what
doesn't
happened.
say it definitely will cure anything. She says it could.
Yeah,
Right.
she says it could. So, So you might wonder, like, also, like, what went wrong? Why would anybody care about this? It's just 58,000 people, possibly killing themselves. Who really cares?
Darwinism.
Yeah, basically. Well, in 2017, a man by the name of Bruce Wilmot, he was diagnosed with advanced pancreatic cancer, and he found Jilly Juice on Facebook. And of course, he's desperate for a cure because, pancreatic cancer is going to kill you sooner rather than later. There's nothing in modern day mainstream medicine or anything that's going to cure pancreatic cancer. You have it, and your question is, how many months do I have? Do I have a month? Do I have 3 months? Maybe I have a year, and there's nothing they can do except make him comfortable and maybe do a Whipple surgery, which is going to buy him a couple of months. But in those couple of months, he'll obviously be healing from the Whipple surgery. So he finds this and he starts he brews up gallons at a time. And he's just juicing like a madman. Like he's constantly drinking this Jilly Juice. And his daughter says that literally he only consumed the juice with the exclusion of everything else. And he became horribly emaciated. She said that he was drinking so much of it, he was, and I quote, basically starving himself. It was all coming out as diarrhea. So on July 20th, 2017, about a month after he began drinking Jilly Juice, Bruce Wilmot died. Um, and Jillian responded to his death in a video stating that she had spoken with him about how and when to drink the juice. And she said things went wrong. The reason things went wrong was because he didn't take enough of it. He stated
Ugh.
and I quote, she stated, and I quote, he stopped. I told him cut back a little bit if the symptoms get too much, but he really shouldn't have. He really should have kept going. In interviews, she's been doubling down on this, that
Yeah.
Wilmot wasn't aggressive enough in following it. And she's also
Oh my
speculated that it
god.
could have been because he drank pineapple juice. And she's even pointed to the medical system itself. So, yeah, because of all of this
Oh
backlash,
god.
um, the Ohio Attorney General's office sent a letter to Jillian asking her for proofs of claims that she's making on her website, including customer testimonials. And when she doesn't produce it, of course, they make her take all of that off of their website. Like part of this man dying is actually why the AGT has been cracking down on misinformation on social media sites, as far as medical misinformation on YouTube. Like, they've been heavily policing this because it's not just her protocol. By the way, everybody, I don't care how sick you are, if you are going to join something that's not like a ketamine clinic that calls it a protocol, just run away. It's probably not a good
Just
idea.
leave.
It's probably not good. I mean, with ketamine clinics, they do call it a protocol because you have to go in like 4 or 5 times in a week and stay there for like 6 to 8 hours. Um, I get that, but that's
Not
about it.
anymore, Nikki. Not anymore. Just so you know, they you don't. I mean, depending on what state you are, you can do it at home now.
Really?
Yep.
Really?
Washington State, they will. They will. You can do it at your house.
No.
Yep.
Mm-mm.
So
Yep.
you
See,
can do what?
I'm too fair. I'm too scared of getting stuck in a K-hole.
Well, you're supposed to be. You know,
I know.
your
You're.
husband's supposed to watch you.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't. I just know. Mm-mm.
Well, okay. So no, but no, but listen. They've been doing this for soldiers in north and you can get ketamine on the national health system in Britain right now. You can go there and get it. They'll
Wow,
give it to you.
that's crazy. But that's awesome that you can do it at home. I mean,
Uh,
it beats having to go to a place and pay them 5 grand for a week's worth of whatever and hope that it
yeah,
takes care of your pain.
I was
You know.
watching a program on it today, and they said, every ketamine infusion was $400, and if you, I think if you take it at home, it's like $196.
That's not bad at all.
But
But you also have to, by the way, the ketamine thing, you have to do it repeatedly for pain. Like it might help with anxiety and depression and whatever
Yeah,
for
that's what
a
that's
much
what they use
longer
it for.
time,
That's
but
what they
they
use it for.
also do it for chronic pain, but you're expected to
Yeah.
go in like every other month or something, and it just is ridiculous.
Well, I mean, there's certain states that you can do it in, and certain ones you can't. I mean, it's
Right.
that's how
Yeah.
America is for whatever reason. I mean,
Right.
if for what the amount of things that you can do depends on what state you're in.
Absolutely. That's
I,
very
I don't
true.
I don't quite know why that is, but anyway,
But
that's the way it is. But
yep.
I was looking at it with this Jilly Juice thing, and it was amazing that you said to me, I mean, said during the story that she was listening to Alex Jones, and
Right.
that's where she got the idea. And I kind of wonder if these people actually believe any of this bullshit. You know what I mean? Or
Right.
whether it's just, listen, I've got a hold of a bunch of stupid ass fucking people on the radio right now. I'm going to sell them just the biggest bunch of crap, because I mean, look at Alex Jones was
He's
making what,
doubling down right now.
800 grand a day
Yeah.
selling it. I mean, it's not from InfoWars, it's from selling supplements, you
Mhm.
know, supplements of this and supplements of that. And so somebody's selling you vitamins and telling
Right.
you that it's great. I mean, and so that was one of those things. And I looked at it like, okay, this lady is just basically selling people, really salty kimchi, and everybody's
Yeah.
getting into it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And or sauerkraut. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if anybody knows anything about cabbage, cabbage is one of those things where your body expels more calories breaking down cabbage than's in cabbage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no
No.
nutritional value to it. Um, and so I mean, and it's just it's easy. She's just basically giving people dysentery, and then
Yeah.
surprised whenever people die.
Right.
Is are you sure that that's true of cabbage, Kevin? I've heard it said of celery many times, but I haven't heard that it's a sort of negative in calories in exactly the way you describe. I've only heard
Oh
that
well,
said of celery.
maybe it is celery, but I think it's almost of a
Yeah,
negative. I
yeah.
think
There
it's
will
either
be
it's very neutral or negative, or
there will be
yeah.
traces, only traces of anything like carbohydrates that gives energy in cabbage. Its calorie value will be about the same as a can of Pepsi Max.
So a
Right.
cup of raw green cabbage contains 22 calories, a gram of protein, 2 grams of fiber, 85% vitamin K, 54% of the RDI, vitamin C, 10% folates, 7% manganese. I don't know what that is. It has vitamin B6, calcium, potassium, and magnesium in it. But 22 calories for a cup, that's not bad.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying is can you say from that standpoint, how many calories would it take to break down the
Yeah, I
like
don't know.
well, I mean, I don't know either, but what I'm saying is that from that standpoint, I because I was reading about the thing about, and it is interesting that a long time ago I remember that people who had heart attacks went on this special sort of cabbage diet, and they still use this cabbage diet now, this cabbage soup diet, so you
Yeah, that
can lose
stuff's
like
delicious though.
10 pounds in a week or something.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to go through these different things, but even then you're not supposed to not eat other things. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Let's guys, let's do the maths. 22 calories. It's an interesting figure that. If you multiply that by 100, you get 2,200, which is roughly halfway between the RDA, as far as I know, for men and women. So therefore, to get an average, a healthy amount of calories, you would need 100 cups of that per day, and Christ knows what. But look at what. It's not just calories, is it? It's not like it's bloody glucose. The salt and oh, for fuck's sake! Oh my good god, that is a catastrophic diet.
Yeah,
Categorically so. That is catastrophic.
yeah. And
Oh,
you're right. I mean, Richard, you were right. I was right. The only reason I'm gonna nerd out about the salt thing here for a second.
oh my
That the
good
the
god.
the Celtic peoples of Hallstatt in Austria, they that was their first form of money was salt, because you needed salt to live, obviously, and
Uh,
there were salt mines up there, and that's where that goes from. That's the very first in of supposedly idea of the Celtic peoples. And
um, Nikki, earlier you said the recipe for this stuff.
Right. I'm actually doing the calculations right now to see how many grams of sodium is in a gallon, which is what she tells us to do. So 1 teaspoon of salt is 2,300 milligrams.
well,
No,
there's
but
more salt in that than there is in seawater, I'm
is there?
guessing.
Now that's the comparison I had in mind. If we
Yeah.
could compare that to seawater, I mean, I've seen. I mean, I think we've probably all seen films or footage of some parched or heard legends of parched sailors and the ones that did. I've read about it. I okay. I quick while Nikki's doing the calculations. Quick interjection. Um, right at the end of World War II, a plane. It might have even been one of the planes that dropped uh, the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, or it was something. It was a ship covering that, or something that was sunk. But anyway, right at that time, right at the end, there was a group of sailors trapped in the water, floating for about 3 days. And the state of those men after that time, and there were ones that just especially it said especially. I read this in a magazine. I'll look it up, find a reference because I remember it clear as day.
The
There were
Indianapolis.
Yeah, that's what I
there
was going to say. The USS Indianapolis. I think
right there
that.
you go. You know it.
Yeah.
You know it, guys.
Ever seen
There
the
was,
shark's eyes, Chief?
oh yeah, that's right. The sharks were at them as well, and it was just it could not have been more of a nightmare. The ones that clung on were the ones that had families, and some eventually were picked up and survived, I think. But some of them literally they just took their life jackets off and just swam off into the delirium, drinking the salt water. And what happens is your body takes in that much sodium, and then what it tries to do immediately is to take in more water to dilute it. And as you do that, you're taking more sodium, and you're very quickly on a downward spiral. I don't know what it looks like when someone dies of salt poisoning. I cannot imagine it is anything other than utterly ghastly.
All right. So
Explosive diarrhea.
what they tell you is that if you are um, lowering your sodium, you really want like a quarter of a teaspoon of salt when you cook, and that's it, which to me would, I don't know, mean death. I couldn't do it. But anyway, so she wants you to drink a gallon, right, of this stuff. It has 110,400 milligrams of sodium in it. Now, seawater itself, a gallon of seawater is 127,573. So it's just slightly less sodium than seawater, like just drinking it out of the ocean.
And a gallon of that per day.
Per day.
Oh my days. Right. So guys,
Yeah, I can't believe it's legal. She should literally be in jail. I don't get it.
oh my god.
I mean, she gets around most of it by saying, keeping it hypothetical, that it could cure this. It may cure that. But she's literally selling poison. I mean,
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. Okay, so now, how about the question, why? Why on earth did she sincerely believe in this evil? And I don't use that word lightly.
does she bollocks believe in it? She's seen an opportunity to make some money. She's a cult leader.
I think.
Yeah.
I think we're dead on,
There's no
Richard.
way. Yeah, there's no way that she is partaking in her own quote unquote protocol. She's still alive. She hasn't stroked out. She might be eating healthy and stuff like that, but she's absolutely not drinking a gallon of that a day. It's, it started in 2016. So, I can't imagine that she spent 6 years doing a gallon a day and is not dead. There's no way.
Should be made to. Like, if she's ever arrested, that should be a punishment. She has to drink a gallon a day for 6 years.
Yeah, but
Right?
I have a question though. If you were living on pot noodle or top ramen, as they call it,
Which I've done that before.
wouldn't that be very close to the same?
Absolutely not.
How much? I wonder how much sodium there is in.
I'm looking that up right now.
Yeah.
You can survive on ramen, though. You
Okay.
can't survive on.
So one package is 875 milligrams. So you're still, even if you ate it 4 times a day, you're not even going to get close to
Right.
over 100,000 milligrams.
Yeah. So just think of that.
You would
that's the
get it
scary part.
3,000 milligrams if you were doing it. If you were eating top ramen 4 times a day, you'd have 3,496 milligrams of sodium in your body.
So I mean, it would be interesting to figure out how many top ramens is she trying to tell you to drink in a day.
Let's figure this out. Hold on.
Yeah.
So, guys, I don't actually know what top ramen is. I
Well,
guess
it's like
Ramen
It's
noodles.
it's like pot
Basically, a pot noodle, super
pot
noodles.
noodles. Yeah.
with a lot of soy sauce in it.
Yeah.
Or is it just known as a particularly salty one, or is it loaded with soy sauce, or both?
You would have to eat 126 packages of ramen a day to have that amount of
Lord.
sodium.
And you'd probably be you'd be a lot happier.
Yeah.
And it would be cheap.
Oh, I found another package where it's 1,180 milligrams, but still, you'd still have to, consume like 100 packages a day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think that it's on what was that show where he ate like a McDonald's every meal for like a
Super Size Me.
Yeah, it was a book and it's a really good book. I think I've still got my copy.
I kind of call bullshit on that because let's just say that if Tom and I were to do that challenge, I would fare way better than Tom. The guy that did Super Size Me was on a vegan diet for a long time. He ate very healthy. He didn't partake in that food until he did Super Size Me. So his body's not used to it. Of course, it's going to start shutting down like immediately. It's used to like high proteins and good vegetables. And suddenly he's putting empty calories into his body. So Tom would be half dead in a week. And I'd be like, woohoo, a quarter pounder with cheese again, whatever.
Yeah. I can see it now. Niki dancing on my grave, stuffing down her quarter pounder with cheese, and even buying a Happy Meal just to play with the toy to bring an even bigger smile to her face.
That's right. I'll put the toy on your graveside.
There you go. Yeah, you could. Oh, at least you could do is sling it in the coffin so I can have it in my afterlife. Here, a wonderful eternal memento to remind me of what brought me here till the end of the time.
That's very true.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, maybe we could come back and maybe we could just eat Jiggly Juice for every meal, and then come back next week and see if we're still alive.
I'll do it the Jillian way. I'll just say that I've done it.
I think that I would. I think that I would fare pretty good because of my orthostatic hypotension. I have been told to eat a lot of salt. I don't think I've ever come close to eating that much salt, but yeah.
Yeah.
I eat a lot of salt. I have been known to actually eat like the little salt crystals, They're good. Anyway, continue.
So, guys, where is she now?
She still has her website. It's a little bit different. So weird. Some of the stuff that she puts out there. let's see. I
Oh.
actually have it pulled up, but she's still doing stuff. The Frequency of Life, The Age of Reckoning, and The War on Humans, Fall 2022 and Winter of 2023. The Jilly Juice meta mentality is a thought process with specific measurable outcomes. Life is long. The JJ meta mentality, where all things are possible, jillyjuice.com. I will be releasing a new book with updated and innovative thought processes soon. So there's
See.
still, it's still a
Cool.
thing. She just, she had to remove like anything, she had to remove anything about it, you know,
Hmm.
fixing arms and legs and lost limbs and diabetes and all that, because she had to get rid of all of that stuff. But if you look on her site, actually, I'll just go ahead and share my screen. Why not?
Yeah, do it.
Doesn't really work when you try and do that.
It does if you would, you know, pull it up. Damn.
That's really not working this time.
Well, it's because I haven't shared it yet. Hello.
No. Okay.
You're
Well,
fine.
you want to maybe
Okay.
do that?
Here we go. I had to get it pulled aside. Okay. So, that's Jillian. She looks super happy. She's a crazy person. You can kind of tell by that smile. But anyway, um, I'll go ahead and read her about. Product of Generation X, Jillian discovered the evolutionary power of viruses influencing the microbiome and the environment. I have no idea why she puts Byron. I don't know.
Nope.
Viruses are evolution and energy and innovation when fed all food in the food supply. The critical concept to understand is that Jilly Juice is temporary and not meant to be used indefinitely, which she used to not say before. Salt has curative properties, but not the ultimate intention. It would help if you had salt, but not too much or too little. But salt is necessary to be in your food supply, activating cell replication and coding your DNA. The intention is not to end up like beef jerky. The Jilly Juice recipe consists of fermented cabbage, kale, water, and white iodized or non iodized table salts. She has debunked even her staunchest critics with pure science. Their claims salt is poison and their fears regarding the probiotics, cabbage, kale, and water, and Jilly Juice have been debunked through science and academic peer reviewed publications. If you want to know more, considering researching her info in her
That's
book and
pretty
check
much
out
the
her
same.
references in the
Oh,
bibliography.
dear.
Yeah,
It reads exactly the same as Team Squatch in USA.
yeah.
Oh, it's. Oh my word.
What do you mean anecdotal information is
Yeah,
this is
just
Peer
Google crap.
review. Yeah.
review? No, but no, what I mean, here's the thing about it. People are in a prime position for this now because, of course, I mean, because of things like the OxyContin scandals
Absolutely.
and all these different things, nobody trusts Big Pharma anymore.
Right. And Americans are especially susceptible because do I want to pay? Okay, say I can't afford health insurance. Do I really want to pay a doctor like $170 just to go in for them to check my whatever, maybe refer me to a specialist, and I have to pay another $250 to him, then however much my prescription is? Or do I want to look at this and have hope and go, oh, I can black salve that cancer off of my face myself. I can
Yeah.
drink cabbage water. Like that's way cheaper. And I think it's a big, with Americans, I think a lot of it has to do with availability of funds. You know,
Ghastly.
And,
it's
God.
and availability of doctors. I mean,
right.
you look at it from certain rural. I mean, a lot of us can't understand that because like I'm sitting in a city right now, and then you look at it from that. But certain counties in certain states don't have a doctor in it.
That's
And that,
very true. And
and
like, look at me. Like, my doctors that are currently around me can't help me. I have to drive 3 hours,
right.
to go to a doctor. So,
God.
and I don't know if I think I've explained on here how American health works. I think a lot of people in the UK don't quite understand
No,
how costly it is.
they would be horrified by it.
I'll go ahead and give mine. So for my husband and I pay $1,200 a month in health insurance because he has diabetes. Um, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing. So I pay $1,200 a month in health insurance, but wait, there's more. I still have to pay a copay every time I go to the doctor. So it's like $50, which isn't bad. Some people's are like 150. So I still have to pay $50 every time I even go into the doctor. It's 125 if it's a specialist. And on top of that, whatever care I get, they're only going to pay like 10% until I spend $5,000 of my own money. And then they'll start covering 70%. So they still don't cover everything. So I'm paying $1,200 a month for them not to cover everything.
God.
And then
And
that's not even talking about the cost of his
we're not
insulin
talking
and-
emergency rooms.
yeah, his
There,
insulin, his strips, his
yeah.
whatever.
People will literally call an Uber before they call an ambulance because it's cheaper to get a Lyft driver or an Uber over to take you to the hospital than it is for an ambulance, which can be somewhere between $8,000 and $5,000.
Didn't Nikki? Who is it who you told me this once? Who has a chain around their neck that says, "If I have a seizure or something, whatever you do, don't call an ambulance."
Yeah, it's someone
colleague?
from one of my EDS sites. And
Yeah.
then my sister, also, it is known to everybody with my sister, if she passes out, you make sure she's breathing and whatever, and you just freaking leave her there. As long as she's breathing and has a heart rate, you just wait for her to wake up, because if not, and for her, because she has so many issues, MCAS and all that stuff, it's dangerous just to go to the hospital. She's got such a latex sensitivity. If you touch a balloon and then touch the doorknob, and then 4 hours later she comes by and touches that doorknob, she will go into anaphylaxis.
Oh
But
my word.
but it's incredibly expensive to have healthcare
It's
in America.
crazy.
So it opens up the doors for all of these snake oil,
Of
salesmen, all these
course.
pushers, because
Of
you know
course. Oh
someday
dear.
I'll have to do one on Black Salve, and the pictures are awful. Like the people that are doing this to themselves, to their children, to their elderly parents. It's just really sad, and it's because most people can't afford health care here.
Oh, I know,
Um,
I know a Bigfooter who uses Black Salve or
I
has used it.
I that stuff is so bad for you, so caustic, and
Oh
the
yeah,
people just I've seen it like literally right now. I've been watching a case. We're waiting. The mother or grandmother has she has cancer in her jaw and in one of her nostrils, and they put the black salve on, and her nostrils absolutely gone. Like you could see the mucus being formed directly out of the canal of her nasal passage.
Oh my god.
Like, and the first thing I thought when I saw it and I showed it to one of my coworkers was, what if she gets an infection in her brain? She has nothing, nothing to protect her now when she breathes something in.
Mhm.
It's just going straight up that nasopharyngeal path.
Oh my god.
Because there's nothing holding it, and they're doing it to her jaw. I've seen people lose like their ear. It's scary, and Jilly
What
Juice is just as bad.
what is this stuff called?
It's called Black Salve, and literally people will put it on. Say you have breast cancer. There are plenty of women that do this. They'll put the Black Salve on their breast instead of getting a
Oh.
mastectomy or getting chemo or radiation. They will put it on their breast, and literally what it does is it just eats away the skin. Black Salve says that it only eats away unhealthy skin, but really you could put it anywhere. It's going to eat it away. It's heavily caustic.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh,
my
it just anyway.
God.
Yeah. If it's so great, I get the guy who makes it to use it as a lubricant.
Yeah,
If you do that, I'll use it.
right. Same.
Just slather it on your cock, and let's see what happens.
Let's see
Oh,
if that
thank
works well
God.
for you.
Well, just one quick thing, if I may, everybody. At the start of the show, Kevin, you mentioned, I think, or you, Nick, I'm not sure who started it, mentioned the opiates and things. And Kevin, you referred back to that just a moment ago. Just wanted to do a quick shout to what I thought was an absolutely brilliant TV series on Disney Plus called Dope Sick. It came out, I think, late
That was
last year.
amazing. That was really good.
Now, Nikki, I'm glad you've seen it, Nikki. I don't even know if we've talked about this. It is a show that it leaps around in timelines quite a bit. So you've got, but hey, if I can concentrate and follow it, then surely anyone can. I thought it was really, really good. I thought it portrayed things brilliantly. All characters were it was incredibly well done. And Nikki, what I'd like you to know is how accurate do you think this show is in its portrayal of the opioid epidemic in the United States?
I think that it was pretty accurate because I've watched a lot of documentaries on that whole thing. Just as an aside, on the opiate epidemic, there's a really good Netflix documentary called The Pharmacist, and
Okay.
basically a man in Ohio, his son died from a fentanyl overdose or whatever, and there was a lady that was literally, people were parked there for like days at a time just to get their prescription. She'd just write them. It was like fentanyl, Valium, and something else. They called it the Holy Trinity. And so that was basically, it was a huge deal back then. You know, you had Dr. Couch, who was handing out opiates like they were candy and fentanyl. Like you could go in and be like, oh, but my Loratab is really helping my back. And he'd be like, so fentanyl? And he would prescribe them fentanyl. Even if they said that the Loratab that they had was perfectly fine, he was doing that. And then what he did was he realized that he was getting so many kickbacks from, I think it was Pfizer, right?
Yeah.
So he's getting so many kickbacks from Pfizer, he just opens his own pharmacy next door. So all of the proceeds go to him and there's no middleman. And he became an opiate dealer and got into big trouble. So it's been a huge, I believe that is 100% what happened. All of it, like even them knowing, and then they targeted, they knowingly targeted poor areas.
Ugh.
You know, they went through, they had a demographic, and I think that they had every intention of getting people hooked on it because they didn't pull back when they realized it was, you know, addictive. They just went double that dose.
Remember that documentary? I don't know if anybody's seen it, but I mean, it's not about drug addicts itself, although the characters, I mean, not the subjects of the documentaries were pretty much all drug addicts. But it's like the wicked whites of something, you know, it's like about this Kentucky family, and the father is like a step dancer or some kind of a dancer, you know, like a old Appalachian kind of dancer, and all the daughters are all you know, drug addicts and stuff from prescription drugs, and she ends up losing her. She goes to, I mean, this is during a documentary. She goes to the hospital, has a baby, you know, and then you know, her sister brings in, you know, some opioids. They crack it up and start sniffing it, you know, right after she's given birth. And you know, it is, you know, again, it was one of those things where it was they were talking about the opioid things, you know, in that county, and basically you know, somebody was making a joke, and it was like, you know, they had like the opioids in a prescription bottle, and he goes, you know what this sound is? And he shook the bottle, and he goes, it's the mating call of like Hazard County or something. You know what I mean? It's just like everybody was using it for whatever. And
well, that's because they had it cast for moderate pain, which, by the way, so the whole pain scale that we use now was created by the people that made OxyContin. As being the fifth, you know, vital sign. It was never there before OxyContin. So what they did was they were like, moderate pain. By the way, did you know a migraine is a moderate pain, as long as you were scoring a 4 or above, they could prescribe you Oxycontin, and they're telling you you're not going to get addicted to it. And
Well,
then when that doesn't work
yeah,
anymore, they
yeah.
just double your freaking dose and go,
Oh
"Oh,
yeah,
you have breakthrough pain."
yeah.
Yeah, nah.
Well, and the thing about it is, I'll say now, dude. I mean, I cracked my tooth in force this week, and I had to go into
Wow.
the dentist, and it was the most pain. I think. I mean, you know, because mouth pain is one of those things where
It's the worst.
you can't escape it. You
Yeah.
know
Oh,
what I mean?
it's nasty. Oh,
Yeah, and
it's a really biting,
yeah,
sharp, searing pain. It's horrible.
and so they were asking me if I was in any pain. I said, yeah, you know, I'm in a terrible amount of pain. And I mean, right now, if you go in and you have an arm lopped off, or you know you've gotten a shot in the face, or you don't have half a jaw anymore,
Mhm.
they'll say, "Oh, take some Tylenol and some Advil."
Absolutely.
They
Especially if
will,
you're a woman.
yeah, they will not give you. I mean, which makes you wonder anymore. What's the purpose of even making it anymore? Because they will not give you any kind of. You know, it's a funny thing. You know, like you can still go in Canada. You can still go get Tylenol with codeine at the shop. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
And
so,
now it's like a heavily guarded, like guarded by Fort Knox. They gave my mom, so my mom's been sick for 3 months with this stupid cough.
yeah,
They gave her the smallest little bottle. It was maybe a little bit taller than a regular pill bottle, like prescription pill bottle,
yeah,
uh, full of cough syrup with Lortab in it,
oh yeah,
and that was all she could have.
right,
And she was through it within a few days, and she was only taking half the dose that they had recommended.
right,
So, but they refused to give her any more. It's very much, it went from over prescribing it to now doctors are terrified of prescribing it to anybody. And part of that is because they're finding that, like, ibuprofen and Tylenol, or ibuprofen and Advil, you can interchange them back and forth, and it's actually better for like joint pain and stuff like that um than Lortab or Percocet. It's going to help you more with an NSAID than it would if you were taking an opiate.
yeah. Well, I mean, all I know is that if I'm back in Northern Ireland and I want to go to the Boots and get Tylenol with codeine, I can go in there and get it today.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's no big deal. I go in there and I say that's it, and they say don't take it for more than 3 days in a row, and
Right.
that's like, okay, right, okay, no problem, mate.
Other countries are good with that anyway, because I know, like in Puerto Rico and Canada, you can go into the pharmacist and say, "Hey, I got
Yeah,
a kidney infection or a UTI. Can you, can you give me some
yeah,
cephalexin or something?" And they just freaking will.
yeah. And just as long as you know, if you go to Canada and bring it back, because 50 or less is a amount that you can bring
Yes.
into the United States without any problem.
Yep. But
So,
yeah, other places they just
oh, I mean, it is tiresome in the fact. Well, anyway, we won't. I won't start my rant. I won't start my
no.
rant. This has
I
been a
feel
good
you
time.
as someone, by the way, and I just found this out like 2 weeks ago. If you're at the hospital and you're in a lot of pain and you want pain meds, tell them it's an 8 or higher on the pain scale. If it's 7 or below, they won't give you anything.
Yeah,
Because I was telling them about how I said it was like a 7 whenever I was passing a kidney stone, and I went
Oh,
in and they said, "Well, here's some Tylenol. See you later." And that was all I got. And I was told by one of the nurses that it was because I said it was a 7. Had I said it was an 8, they would have prescribed me something for pain.
yeah.
So there you go.
Well, I think it's sad that you have to know the ins and outs.
It
You
is
know.
really sad. But
Yeah,
the cool thing is that since I didn't freak out when they gave me just a Tylenol, they went ahead and wrote me a prescription for Loratab. They just didn't give it to me in the hospital. They gave me like 5 pills, which was more than enough to deal with the kidney stone, at least because I'm an old veteran at those.
more than enough to you crush up and snort through your nose.
Nah, it wasn't that
oh,
bad.
God. So, guys, yeah, Nikki, I'm glad you're back. the quality and accuracy of Dope Sick. I really recommend people.
It's really good.
In England, it's on Disney Plus, and I'd imagine it is on America too.
I believe Dope Sick is on Hulu or HBO Max, or Peacock. One of those. I can't remember. It is streaming, and then I heavily suggest, if you have Netflix, to watch The Pharmacist. If you're
Okay,
interested in learning, The Pharmacist is really good. It starts out a bit different, just him trying to find a son, but then it goes on to, I mean, he was a single man trying to take on like all of these doctors. Like he was begging the FBI to do something about it for a long time.
Mhm.
So it's really good.
Well, on that depressingly awesome note, that'll wrap us up for this week. We will return next week, despite the hopes of many, where we will be discussing the ambiguous case of Sandy Melgar, which is quite a rabbit hole, let me tell you. So it's good night from me, and it's good night from them. Good night.
Night.
It's been a pleasure, everyone. Good night.